What's up, Tube? Welcome back to Guido's Chop Shop, the second best gel blaster channel on the Tubes. And before I do anything, let me say, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Please hit that subscribe button down there. Go over to Vague Strategist, to his YouTube channel, and hit subscribe on that as well. Costs you nothing, absolutely free. You can only be a better person for it, trust me. And if you do want to give money away, please buy me a coffee. There's a link down there as well. Alright, now that that's out of the way, here we are today with the old G18 and the new MOSFET board from the Beretta 92. If you are going to buy one of these, you'll probably receive it with more wires than this. I've taken some off because I'll probably use the ones that are already in the Glock for that. But yeah, let's do this. Let's get this into that. It's going to serve two purposes. One, it's a more reliable circuit board than the one that comes in the G18, and it's capable of supporting 14 volts, so that's good too. So pop your pin, remove your slide. Mine just jumped out because I don't have a spring retainer in this particular Glock because reasons. Alright, and then once you've got that apart, it's down to the old plastic screws. Alright, let's get these out. There's only a few of them. Shouldn't take too long at all. Now, when you're pulling this apart, you'll notice there's a button here. Don't lose it. Also, don't lose your, oh, there's another one. There's always one more screw. Don't lose your mag release spring either. Alright, so I think we're good to go there. Alright, there we go. Don't lose your mag release spring. It's there. And don't lose this button. Take them off, set them aside somewhere. I'm going to disconnect the battery from this board. And then I'm going to start looking at modifying this shell because it's got a smaller switch here and it doesn't have the points where you put the 14 volt terminals. So the first thing I'm going to do to this shell is I'm going to make some cuts just with a saw blade. I'm going to start right here, which is just behind where that notch is. See where that notch is? So I'm going to start right there, and I'm just going to cut a little notch there. I would usually do this with a Dremel, but I don't have my Dremel on me at the moment, so I'm doing things the hard way. But yeah, just going to cut a little notch there, and then there's going to be 4 notches in total for the terminals to sit into, and I'll show you the measurements of that shortly. So I've made my cuts there. Each one of them's 4 millimeters apart and 2 millimeters deep. I don't know if you can see that clearly. Maybe if I go that way. There you go. Still a little bit of chat in there from the saw, but ideally if you have a Dremel with a thin disc, you can clean that up a bit. But that's going to be for the terminals to sit into, and you'll need to do the same on the other side. Alright, and there's the other 4 cuts on the other side. 4mm apart again between each cut, and 2mm deep. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to desolder all these pieces here where the wires come onto the board. I think if you get the board, it comes with a lot of this stuff attached, so you probably only need to solder the red, these two, the red and the black for the motor. I've decided that I'm going to do all of these and just swap the 2 terminals which don't come with the Glock and this green slide switch, because it seems to be identical. It is identical. Alright. I'm just gonna desolder these wires from the board. I've already taken note of what colours go where, so it's all good. I will go through it with you in a moment. If you are at all concerned. Alright. So on the new board here, all the red wires go to this pad here. The black wire from the motor goes to this pad on the other corner. The black wire from the mag terminal goes to this one in the middle. And the yellow and white wires, one yellow and one white, both go to this pad in the middle here. Doesn't seem to have any marking on that middle pad. And the white wire goes to this pad marked SDK, and the yellow wire goes to this pad marked SJK. I've just remembered that this particular board has the 4-pin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3-position switch on it, whereas the old one's got the 3-pin 2-position switch on and off. So I will have to clearance the shell both sides for this bigger switch. I'll just do that in the same manner as I cut these slots with a Dremel or a hacksaw bit. Alright, so as it turned out, that clearancing in here for what I thought was going to be just clearancing for the switch turned out to be a lot more than I had bargained for. So it turns out, because this board, focus, that comes in the Glock is much slimmer with less components on it, and this one's got more components and they're closer to the edge. The amount I had to clearance quite a lot out of here. I don't know if you can see that, but I've had to basically everywhere where the board went in had to be clearanced, and I had to make the hole bigger in the bottom here for the switch. Both sides. This side I didn't do much other than making the hole bigger, but on the side that contains the gearbox at the bottom, I call it, that there was a lot of work clearancing that. A lot more than expected. Bolt-on mods, yes. Awesome. I was kind of like expecting, because they are the same size board, that they would just slide into the holders, but Yeah, they're just different enough that they don't. So that's something to keep in mind if you're planning on doing this. You will need to file a bit out here to get the board to fit in. Anyway, moving on, I'm going to solder in the wires as discussed earlier on. Alright. It's always good if you have like a pair of helping hands or something to hold the wires when you're doing this. It helps. Helping hands help. How about that? Okay, soldering done. Wires jammed into whatever convenient location. Board set. Terminals in. I think we're good to reassemble this. Reassemble the other half. Don't forget to put your mag release back in. Make sure everything sits in nicely. Don't forget to put your button back in, like I did. Alright, all the screws are back in. Looks good. I'm going to pop the battery in and plug her in. See how we go. So the battery is now in place. That's all good. That's good. Time to put the slide on, I think. So, of course, spring retainer should be there. Just remember that when you're putting yours together, because I've lost my spring retainer. Pin goes in there. Alright, so now we should have 3-position switch. Should be off. Oh, no, that's not off. So off. 7 volt in the middle, and then 14 volts on that switch on that 3rd position, which obviously doesn't do anything until you have the 14 volt battery. So I've got the flashlight from the oh, yep, that works. The flashlight actually works as well, in case you didn't know that. Now I'm sliding it onto the Glock. Now, one of the things that I did notice, probably a little bit too late after I'd started this, is that the rails on the Glock, while very similar to the rails on the Beretta, they're, I think, just a touch wider. The actual flashlight, while it fits on there, alright, it's I dare say it's probably like loose enough to want to kind of fall off, and I wouldn't trust it to stay on there. So I am going to actually come up with something a little bit more permanent than this, but with the 14 volt on there, it's definitely got that nice snappy response that the Beretta has. So this works, but like I said, I don't trust how loose this is, and also it doesn't it doesn't work with my holster, because so I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to run the wires. I mean, this will work, I guess, if you get like a screw or something through the actual through this rail, so that you can tighten it to tighten these rails up and keep it clamped on there. That'll work. But I think I'm gonna take it like next step, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run those 14-volt wires down the back here and up through to the top here, and I'm gonna try and mount an additional battery up here inside, like a little fake RMR or one of those little red dots, just the cheap plastic ones that I think they might have like come as free attachments on some blasters. If anyone knows where I can get my hands on one of them, let me know, because I've been looking around, and it's one of those things that I would have in that past just thrown straight in the bin, and now I sort of think, I kind of wouldn't mind having my hands on one of those, so I can maybe mount the battery up here in a little RMR instead of having to have the whole flashlight there. I think it's going to give it a much cleaner look, and it's going to allow me to use my holster there as well. So, while this is a success, I'm probably going to say only partial success, because I'm not super thrilled with how this sits on the rail. I mean, mechanically and electronically, we're good. There it is, 14-volt Glock. But I do want to probably go a little bit better. But there it is for the purposes of the video. Please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, buy a patch, buy me a coffee, all these good things. Every single little bit helps. And don't forget to jump on over to Vague Strategist's page and give him a sub too. Alright, thanks guys, and peace out.